Logan Schuchart strikes again. We had a first-time Summer Nationals winner. We'll look ahead to a busy dirt racing weekend, and it sounds like the High Limit International expansion is all but a done deal. Let's go. It's Friday, July 5th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. We are mixing up the schedule this week, so you're getting a rare Friday daily show today, and there won't be a Sunday show instead. We'll be back to normal schedule on Monday. Before we get into today's show, I have one small request for you. If you like what we do here 5 days a week, please consider subscribing wherever you tune in, either on YouTube or the podcast platforms. It's free to do so, always will be. My goal at the moment is 40,000 YouTube subscribers, and considering that more than 50,000 people have watched The Daily Show in just the last 7 days alone, that does feel pretty reasonable. So if you don't already hit that subscribe button. I don't know if you remember or not, but way back in January, we talked about the possibility of there being high-limit races this coming off season in Australia. We actually discussed it way back on the January 29th Daily Show. This came not long after a bunch of American drivers had returned from racing in Australia, and there were even comments from Kyle Larson during the Chili Bowl about potentially going down under in the future. Larson's off-season plans have been a topic of conversation in past years as he stepped away from the Chili Bowl in 2023 to run the Wild West Shootout, but did return in 2024 for kind of a one-off attempt that ended up going sideways. I had some friends down under tell me back then that while Brad Sweet was in Australia racing Western Australia Speedweek, that he was also looking into the possibility of promoting some races and branding them high limit. And this was obviously before the first full high limit season had even started. And it was just back to Wednesday this week that Landrigan Motorsport, which Sweet had been racing for down under, announced that Sweet will return to the team again for the 2024-2025 offseason to race Western Australia. In the last few days, I've had some sources relay to me that a deal for high-limit races in Australia is nearly complete. It's likely that there could be anywhere from 3 to 5 high-limit races with Perth Motorplex at the center of that schedule. Those folks shared with me that it's not completely done yet, but I was told, quote, 90%. As you heard from a number of drivers, Perth is an incredible facility down there, and it's a great place to make this happen, a great place to kind of center any sort of high-limit schedule on. And if Larson does indeed convince Paul Silva to go along with him, this could be a big deal for high limit and those drivers down there. You'd potentially be looking at Sweet, Larson, and Rico, and then from there, we know that Carson Macedo has a tight relationship with Sean Dyson. He wouldn't be up against any outlaw restrictions, so he could run these races. Plus, we've seen names like Corey Eliason, Sheldon Hodenshield, and Brock Zierfoss also make that trip recently. They would likely be able to put together a nice group of American drivers to take on the locals down there, like Callum Williamson, like Dane Kingshot, Caden Manders, and all those guys. And you might actually get some others to travel. Those races back in December were all on pay-per-view, but with Flow Racing involved in high-limit ownership, it makes me wonder if they might get back involved with streaming some of these shows here in the States. We've obviously seen Flow stream some races from Down Under in the past. They can make a deal with pay-per-view to handle the at-track stuff and then have the rights here in the U.S. Wouldn't be the first time that an American-owned series promoted races Down Under, but it has been quite a few years since the World of Outlaws did it. These guys get to keep racing, expand the high-limit brand, and get themselves in front of a big base of sprint car fans in Australia. It's definitely a story to pay attention to coming up, and I know that Rico's deal to make Australia happen last year began just after the Knoxville Nationals, as that is when he got the container loaded up with a car and parts and pieces to head down there with the help of Luch Monty. So we're going to be right about the time where the teams are going to need to start making some moves. Jumping to racing action from last night, PA Speedweek was at Hagerstown Speedway in Maryland. Logan Schuchart won back on Tuesday at Grandview. He skipped Wednesday at Port Royal, but he was back in the field last night and again went to victory lane leading all 30 laps. Schuchart is one of the few drivers taking advantage of the free pass this week from the World of Outlaws, and he's really capitalized so far. 2 wins and a 4th in 3 races. Troy Wagaman Jr. was second and Anthony Macri third. With Danny Dietrich right behind in fourth, Macri did pick up a little bit of ground in the Speedweek title fight, but he's still 30 points back. He's got tonight at Williams Grove, Saturday at Port, and Sunday at Selinsgrove to close that distance. So far, it looks like 11 drivers have run every Speedweek show. And in case you were wondering, no Brett Marks last night. Who knows? Tonight's Mitch Smith Memorial at Williams Grove is $20,000 to win. You've got the Grove tonight on Dirt Vision, Port on Flow on Saturday, and the finale at Selinsgrove back on SprintCarUnlimited.tv. With the Super DIRTRACKR Series, Matt Williamson struck again, going fourth to the lead in just 15 laps last night at Land of Legends. He never looked back from there to score win number 3 on the season. Matt Shepard ended up second. He's still looking for that first SDS win of the year, and Jimmy Phelps was third. Headed to Thunder Mountain Speedway next Tuesday. Williamson's championship lead is now 15 over Shepard, with the top 5 down to Phelps, separated by just 39 points. And at Riverside, we had a first-time Summer Nationals winner with Illinois driver Rodney Melvin leading flag to flag. Melvin had been having some good runs here lately with the Hell Tour, including second the last time out at Old Number 1 Speedway on Tuesday. So this was a nice pickup for him on the 4th of July. Ethan Dodson charged to second very late after starting 8th, and front row starter Tanner English was 3rd. Melvin, actually English's father-in-law. And I don't want to throw shade on my guy, JC Waller here, but I do think if Dodson had had a clear run into 3 on that final lap, he may have had a chance there at the win. In the modified main event, it was Trevor Neville picking up win number 3 after early leader Lucas Lee had a flat tire. Neville continues to lead the modified championship. Summer Nationals Week 3 continues through the weekend. They've got races at Paducah, Clarksville, and Hobstadt coming up. The World of Outlaws Late Model Series weekend at Deer Creek Speedway will have to wait one more day to get started. They had rain yesterday and made a valiant effort to get the track back in shape, but just wasn't meant to be. So today they'll run a double program with grandstands opening at 10:30 a.m. Central Time and hot laps on track for that first program at 12:30. After today's 2 shows, still same setup for tomorrow. The top 16 in event points will be locked into Saturday's $50,000 to win main event. Looking ahead to the rest of the dirt racing weekend, we haven't seen the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series since they were at Lernerville for the Firecracker 100 a few weeks ago. Ricky Thornton Jr. the winner that night, and he's pretty far out in front of the championship right now. Jonathan Davenport and Devin Moran very solidly inside that all-important top 4, and Tim McCready now has a 35-point cushion over Mike Marlar for that final spot. Hudson O'Neill, Garrett Alberson, Dalton Wilson, they remain in the mix, but they have lost some ground. Both Friday at Portsmouth, Saturday at Muskegon County are 20,000 win and 1,200 to start. I know this will likely shock you. RTJ is actually the most recent Lucas winner at both of those racetracks. In Georgia, the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series is at Senoia 4 at 20,000 win on Saturday. Brandon Overton continuing to lead the way there. He's got a fairly comfy lead right now over Sam Seawright. 2nd through 7th, though, is separated only by 36 points, so a lot of movement is possible there in the standings. It's a fairly quiet weekend in the Southeast, so as long as the weather plays nice, I could see this one drawing a very solid field of cars. If you want some sprint car racing over the next few days, I definitely keep an eye on Knoxville with the Outlaws and High Limit off. This one will likely draw some big names. We already know that Gio Scelzi and KCP are headed there, and some other national touring teams are possible and likely. We're getting closer to the Nationals, so any laps these teams can get would be valuable for later on. There's also POWRi at Lake Ozark, and the Fast Series has a weekend doubleheader at Wayne County. In Indiana, the USAC sprint cars are back to racing after last week's controversial shows at Macon Speedway. I did hear that some form of an appeal was lodged this week, but I don't know if there was any ruling and if there was, what the result was. We obviously haven't seen or heard anything official from USAC. These 2 nights at Lincoln Park will be the first of 2 trips to Putnamville for the series in 2024. They'll race Friday and Saturday this week, and then Putnamville opens Indiana Sprint Week at the end of the month. Logan Seavey maintains the championship lead, but it's tight at the top with Brady Bacon, CJ Leary, Dazen Persley, all within 100 points. Jake Swanson, the most recent winner at Lincoln Park. All right, that's it for the show today and for the week. As always, you guys tuning in every day and supporting DIRTRACKR is very much appreciated. Hope you guys have a great Friday and a great weekend out there. We'll see you back here on Monday.